Welcome back. My name is Scott Heaton. I am your host, and today we're here with Taylor Johnson of State Farm Insurance. Today he's got a great topic that I think most people are pretty uneducated about, and that is what is an umbrella policy?
I thanks Scott for having me. This is one of my favorite topics because 99 out of 100 times if I bring up an umbrella policy to somebody, they say, "What is that?" I've heard the phrase.
Yes.
Most people have heard the phrase umbrella policy, but what does that mean? Really what an umbrella policy is where it gives you additional liability protection in the event that you may be responsible or negligent to somebody else's bodily injuries or property damage. So let me give you two scenarios and I'll explain, that will help explain what an umbrella policy is and how can it help. So number one is, and this actually did happen here in Utah.
Okay.
So State Farm had some clients in Utah where, especially we're talking about this in the month of December. So what happens is, what do we do in Utah? We deliver gifts, right?
Yes.
Neighborhood gifts. And we had a client where their neighbor was delivering a gift to their home, and there was some ice on their steps, and the neighbor slipped and fell on the property of our client. Well, that neighbor gift turned into a neighbor lawsuit and sued our client for the bodily injuries that they sustained on their property. Well, they're pretty substantial, and most home policies have some liability protection. But this scenario exceeded their home policy's liability limits. They had an umbrella policy, and so it gave them additional protection to help pay for those damages. So let's say your home policy had $100,000 of liability, but there's something like this happen where somebody slips on ice and causes $250,000. Well, your umbrella policy will pick up and cover that $150,000 difference. Most umbrella policies will start at least at $1 million worth of liability protection.
Okay.
So that's a scenario where an umbrella policy helped out greatly. I'm going to give you another scenario real quick.
Okay.
This is where an umbrella policy could have come into play and been a huge benefit, and they didn't have one. So State Farm had some clients where they had a youthful driver, was out driving, unfortunately caused a really, really big accident. And there was a lot of property damage and a lot of bodily injury liability. Yeah. And unfortunately, it exceeded their auto liability limits. And so our client was personally responsible for the damages. They did not have an umbrella policy to pick up that slack. And so what happened, unfortunately, they lost half their 401k. They had to sell their home to pay for these damages. So an umbrella policy, in both of those scenarios, that's where you want something like that to help cover you in the event something really bad happens and it exceeds your underlying insurance's liability limits.
You know, as parents, when our kids start driving, that is like the number one concern, right? Is when our kids leave, they're like, what do we always tell them? Remember, drive safe, stay off your phone. We don't ever want it. We don't anticipate it to happen, but it does. And that would be horrible not to have sufficient coverage and find yourself in that position where you lose a lot of your things that are important to you, 401k, homes, those kinds of things. Really quick question though, Taylor. Umbrella policies, are they relatively affordable?
Absolutely, yeah. When we talk to somebody and they say, "Hey, we can give you this $1 million umbrella policy," yeah, the natural thought as well, $1 million worth of coverage. That sounds
expensive.
Yeah, it sounds expensive. It's really not. Most of the time when we give quotes with this, now State Farm does give it a little additional discount on their auto insurance coverage if they have an umbrella policy. So there's a little bit of help there. Yeah. But most of the time when I do a quote for an umbrella policy, oftentimes it's maybe $20 to $35 a month. Now there are some, with anything with insurance, it depends on the situation and everything, but they're very affordable in comparison with the coverage that you get.
Okay, so for those watching, and this is hitting home, and they have teenage drivers, or maybe their husband has anger issues or something, I don't know, and they're like, we should really reach out to Taylor because that's something that we really need to do. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 385-345-4233. You can give me a call. I'd love to talk to you then. Or if you want to shoot me an email or reach me through my website, you can reach me at taylordjohnson.com. That's my website. And again, there's ways to communicate with me via my website.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Stay insured and make sure you have sufficient coverage. Umbrella policies sound like a great idea. Now I'm going to have to go check and make sure we have one. I think we do, but anyway, this is the whole point, right, of doing these podcasts, is to get people thinking, get you thinking about your circumstances, just to protect you. So again, thank you so much for dropping by. I appreciate it. And we will see you next time on another episode with Taylor Johnson. Thanks so much.